saw it when I walked, boy.
lower music, so that must mean I'm here. Oh, someone just walked right by my window, and it's also another person. As soon as I start talking, everybody's walking by. Hello, Deebs. Hello, Nick the OG. Hello, Stick Shift. How are you all today? I'm enjoying the lore of these skeletons. Skeleton top right is pretending he's sitting comfortably, but you know he really isn't. Yeah, it's that I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. No, this is where I want to sit. It's all good. Let me see your hands. Let me see them. Moon dust. Let me see your hands. Hanging in there. You guys talk about the moon. I'll just scrunch up right here. When you don't want to be around people, but you want to be alone. Or wait, no. When you don't want to be around the people that you're with, but you don't want to be alone. That's upper right skeleton. Just like, I mean, yeah, they're talking a lot of bull hockey, but at least somebody's there. At least it's noise. Been there, big mood skeleton. But hey, we're gonna make some NPCs. I'm very excited. I'm gonna show you what I did. Did I have it up? No, I have downspout up. What's up, Discordia? How are you doing? Let me show you. So I did here in Leerbotten. I also changed this so it did like a bold with a full underline, which I think I like and may use that as the format for this. Still fiddling with formats. I hate formatting. But here we talked about this last week. 2 weeks ago? I think it was last week. We talked about making NPCs. No, last week was a tutorial. So today. So that was 2 weeks ago. Or 3, because I missed a week at some point. So we talked about a kobold that lived in Leerbotten. Also, I gotta show you what hang on. I'm gonna show you some art too. So this is art that this is stuff that I did with the AI art, which if you say that word online, you get some real reactions. So if you have a strong opinion about AI art, you are welcome to say it. Just be civil. So I tried some AI art. Where is it? And I shared some of them, but there's a few that I really... Oh, hi, Steam. That I really liked. Is it this one? That one was kind of neat. So where I was trying to do the... that one was just wild. That, you know, maybe for the here for now place. There we go. Let's get that. Where it's all the ships that are docked together. I was trying to create something real wild for that, but I think the one... Duck on it. I think I have to scroll through to keep the size the same. So one of the places was a flooded town that like there's a very prosperous city and state called like Grand Soren, or no, Grand Soren is from Dragon's Dogma. I forget what I called it. And they have it's my Steam. Someone just sent me a message. You're not hallucinating. Since I'm not an artist, but I sometimes do creative stuff that needs art. AI art really intrigues me. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do for this was like, okay, I have a place that, you know, is a flooded city, like a constantly flooding city, but with the flood, the dangerous tide, as it's called, comes building supplies, food, discarded technology, fantasy style technology, but like discarded stuff from a grand, like well-off state, and they throw their trash in the river takes it away, and where it ends up is going through a place called Downspout. And so it's a city that's built up from the runoff of this really, really rich, industrious place. Wow, I'm getting a lot of messages from one person. He's replying to something I sent him earlier, so this is expected, just funny timing. So they have, you know, streets that constantly flood and then drain, and like everything's cobbled together with different pieces of material because like they have no real resources. They're just kind of living off of the excess waste of a industrious, wasteful place. So I tried making some flooded city art. So like something like this looked really cool. Like this really, I feel like captures a good amount of it. It's like everything's kind of torn together. Like this is really nice. Something built out of what looks kind of like a boat. I think this one might have been my favorite. Yeah, some of them have pretty modern concrete, which I was like, this looks cool, but also, This one I feel like captures an older vibe much better. Where it's like something kind of built on a boat, which is really cool. Oh, this one's really neat. The scale on this, it's hard to tell like if this is big or not. Like, am I looking at full-size houses, or is this just a walkway? But like I thought this was really cool, but really trying to capture that feeling. Another one that I like a lot. That's a little bit more modern, but not too modern. This one I really like, but it's also kind of modern. Same with this one, where like this looks way too modern, but this looks really perfect, and this looks great. And this one a little too nice. Let's see. And I was trying to get one, Noclid, the place with the eclipses. I tried doing some for that, so it was like, there's some really good eclipse stuff, but then like this is modern buildings. That was a really cool one. I like this one. I think it's really nice. And then Leerbotten, the place that's built on mud with the beast underneath it. This one, I think, would work pretty much perfectly. Where it's got, like, you know, just like crusty mud everywhere. Like, it's got these buildings that are standing, but, you know, got some dirt on them. So I think that fits really well. There's another one trying to do Eclipse. This one I thought might work well for these two for Noclid. Like this one has the nice windmill and a bunch of weird buildings. This one might be too futuristic, but I also really like it. It has the eclipse. It has, I don't know what this is, but it's very bright. Here are some ships. 10 spaceships docked together is the prompt. It gave me that. Another one where it's like, all right, I had another place that's a city built into, you know, a mountain, like carved out of a mountain. So this was probably my favorite up until this one. This is probably the closest I've gotten. So, oh, mail's here. Hello, mailman. Can you hear me through a window? No. Cannot hear me through the window. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So that's some of my AI art. I guess it's not my AI art. But yeah, basically I would just have like this and then name. And then that would go directly into, you know, so it'd be like, you know, let's go back to this. So it'd be like Learbotten right there. Maybe like a small bit of text and have that be the image for it. And then, you know, you turn the page and you're reading about Learbotten. So again, when this is like a complete thing, I definitely want to be like, hey, Kickstarter crowdfunding. Hey, crowdfunding. First stretch goals. Actual art. I feel like that'd be really cool. So, for Learbotten, our city built on mud, or our entire country state thing built on mud. Oh, that's for us to use later. We talked about a kobold who is currently named Glorn, but we can change that if we want. And I made her thing. So she is an alchemist who sculpts and uses the fragments of dreams that have seeped into the mud to influence and enhance the salves that she makes. And also if she's making art, influences how the art looks. So I wrote up a few paragraphs about her. I wrote up a paragraph about her appearance because I feel like it's very important to be like, you know, as people, we're generally drawn to understand visual stuff. So I always try to make sure I have like a clear visual section of like, when you see person, here's what you see. It makes it easier, you know, for everybody to imagine talking to that person. Burst through the door. What about my non-Newtonian fluid weapon? I love your non-Newtonian fluid weapon. I think it's a fantastic weapon. I really like that idea. If you didn't hear during yesterday's stream when Honey Money came in and was like, I just had this idea. What was that last bit there, Jesse? Which last bit? I moved too fast. I'm not sure. What was I talking about, Discordia? Oh, appearance. I think it makes it better if you have clear visuals to pull from to describe something. So, like, if I'm, you know, saying you're talking to Glorn, and you go, okay, if I don't tell you what Glorn looks like, it's just probably a blank space in your head, or you'll be like, Glorn, oh, it's a goop monster. Okay. And it's not a goop monster. It's a kobold with orange scales, and she's short. And those are all things that you're not going to immediately get. So I like having a clear, like, here are the things you need to know. Lauren is a slender kobold of very short stature. She covers her body in mud to help regulate her temperature, and she draws intricate patterns in the mud. She has bright orange scales. She has dark brown eyes with long vertical pupils. Her snout is short and narrow. She has a long tail with quills at the end and four wings sturdy enough to let her glide through the air. Like, those are all very, you know, concise things that you can kind of put together in your head and go, oh, I'm talking to Glorn. Got it. So I like having that. I wrote it for Bjorn as well, which Bjorn and Glorn too close together. I think we'll have to change Glorn's name. So now taking suggestions. But yeah, non-Newtonian fluid. So really, really, really cool idea Honey Money had was having a non-Newtonian fluid and then using as a weapon, because if someone tries to check it, it would just seem like a liquid. Like, if I hold up my glass of water and I'm like, yeah, that's water. All right. Like, it's going to act like a proper fluid. if this was a non-Newtonian fluid, if you don't know what that is, it is a fluid-like substance, fluid, that gets harder the more force is applied to it. So if you slowly dip your finger into it, your finger will sink. But if you like punch it, it'll straight up stop your hand and probably hurt. So non-Newtonian alchemical solution, yeah. So Honey Money's idea was like you'd have a thing of non-Newtonian fluid, and then you could use it as a weapon, because if it's in a container, like my thought being like a wine skin. So you have a wine skin and it's full, you grab it, yeah, okay, sure, that's thick wine or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be wine, but like, oh, sure, there's a drink in this. Heck, if you make it non-toxic, you might even be able to drink it and be like, no, it's fine. See? I don't know. Don't drink non-Newtonian fluid. I don't know what happens if you ingest it, but maybe the character doesn't either. But the idea is to have it in like a wine skin, and then you would have an incredibly sturdy, like, blackjack. Or like, you know, something you could just be like, cool, grab the neck of the wine skin, then be like, bap! And it would hurt like a doggone mace, because when it's applying force, like being abruptly stopped on someone's head, it hits like a solid object. So I thought that would be really cool. I would also, if I was ruling it, I would rule it that it is if you want to use it as a ranged weapon, it's actually a ranged weapon that would be more effective with how strong you are and how hard you throw it. Versus, you know, like if you're throwing a knife or shooting a bow or shooting a gun, where it's more about like you're aiming. Well, shooting a gun is different. Bow's kind of different too. But like if you throw a knife, like knife isn't really made to like pierce armor. If you hit someone in a fleshy bit, it's gonna go in. It's more about your aim than the amount of force, because you'll bury it up to the hilt, or you'll get it so far in. Like going through a person isn't more effective than like just stabbing a person with a knife from a distance. But if you have something that's non-Newtonian fluid, the more force applied, the harder it is. So if you're super burly and chuck it like a doggone freight train, because freight train's known for throwing things, then it would deal more damage. I think that'd be really cool. So I'm a big fan of this idea, Honey Money. Maybe with a character we make today, can use a non-Newtonian fluid weapon. Can you have it in a bag of holding and have several of them and use like baseballs? Ooh. Wait, but how would you... Okay, let's say you have a bag of non-Newtonian gloop. The problem I'm seeing is if you just reach in and grab some non-Newtonian gloop, you're not going to be able to like pull it out, because you're not applying enough force to it in the bag of wineskins filled with it. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, if you just have a bunch of bags, that's true. Like a bag of little non-Newtonian hacky sacks. That's the meanest prank. Also, hi, Rat Beach. Where you're like, yeah, let's play hacky sack, and you like throw it to someone and they go to kick it, and they kick it and it freaking breaks their foot because they've kicked it, and it's gonna be as hard as a doggone rock. That's funny. Don't ever do that. That's terrible. But like, it's good. It's not prank. It's pseudo assault or something. I don't know. That would be so mean. Yeah, I think it would be a cool idea. I like it. Wait, I saw a thing. Could you use rocks at that point? But rocks would be taken away from you. Be like, that's a weapon. Fluid. Unless you're at the airport. Everything's a weapon when you go to the airport. They're like, you can't have fluid in here. Which there are dangerous fluids, so. I want to see someone get hit in the face with this now. You monster. It'd be pretty fun. All right, so we're gonna talk about Glorn. So appearance, boom, and I'll just read this and probably do some editing while I read it, just to get an idea of what we're doing here. Also, I found this one much easier to do when we did our where was it? Our checklist where we were like, oh yeah, this right here. We were like kobold. Like this, artistic. It was much easier for me to make the character, to make Lorn rather than Bjorn. It's freaking hobbit dwarf names over here, this guy. Because we had made that list first, and I could just easily kind of pull from that and piece it together. You can do what one lady did when I worked at the airport. She took every expensive skin cream and smeared it on 2 papers and then just put them together. She couldn't bring the container of the cream. She could bring the exact same amount with the papers. That's wild. But why was she able to do that? I'm a little confused. Like, why was she able? Is it really just the container? So, like, if I just had 18 ounces of mouthwash in my backpack, just loose, I guess it was between 2 pieces of paper, but like, I'm not sure how that works. Like, do the liquids, they can't measure it at that point. Just estimate. But couldn't they be like, ooh, I estimate that is too much. And they're gonna be like, no, it's not. It's like, well, it's my estimate and I work here. So like, where does the burden of proof fall? Like, if the airport person goes, I think that's more than 40 ounces, and the person with the paper of face cream goes, no, it's not. Can't the person that works at the airport be like, cool opinion, bro, don't care? That's just so wild to me. That it's... I'm confused, and I don't know if I want to be unconfused, because I'm not sure the answer is really going to make me happy, because the answer is probably we make up the rules. Rice pudding counts as liquid. I believe that. If you can't nail it to a tree, I think it counts as liquid. Or a wall. Like, it doesn't have to be a tree. If you can't nail it to something and it stays put, or in this case, stays putting, I feel like that counts as a liquid. I would not bring expensive cream while traveling. Yeah. You can bring a liter of fluids through. You just have to be in 10 milliliter containers. I feel like your airport is way more forgiving than American airports. I think the American airport is like it's like a few, like 3 ounces or something. I might be wrong. I should find out. I will apparently be flying next year to wherever we're going, wherever Jack lives. Michigan? Wisconsin? Wisconsin. I'm pretty sure it's Wisconsin. I don't know. Pretty sure it is, though. Yeah, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Which I don't think I've ever been to, so should be fun. I also did a thing that I don't normally do, which is, oh wait, we can have 100 milliliter containers, but only as many as we can fit in a quart size bag. So we can have 100. The max size of each individual container is 100 milliliters, but the max amount is how many we can fit in a bag of a completely different unit of measurement, a quart. I love it. It has 100 milliliters. My non-math brain strikes again. I don't have math brain. I'm not going to call you out on it. I have very much not math brain. Which is why I like making a tabletop RPG with very limited math. So much easier. Very simple math. Let's just add ones and subtract ones. Bam. Hey, I'm here now. What are we doing? We're talking about airport security liquid size limits, actually. Which, to be fair, did start as talking about not using non-Newtonian fluids as a weapon. And how you could get those in places because people would just think they're a liquid. Until force is applied. Can't wait till I get evaluated for dyscalculia. Is dyscalculia the one where you mix up numbers? Like dyslexic is the one where you mix up letters? Don't fly in airplanes. Problem solved. But how am I going to get to Milwaukee? Hey, Crawdad. Flying at such a pain. Airport is so frustrating. The plane has no room for my legs. It's awful. I would much rather spend more time traveling on the ground. Crawdad, I kind of agree with you. I generally like other modes of transportation more. Because the thing about flying, if it's like a lot like Milwaukee, like, okay, I'm not going to drive to Milwaukee. But like, the problem isn't the flying. And like, I'm short, so I don't really have a legroom problem. Yay. But like, the amount of time it takes is, if it's not a super far trip, it's not better. Like, it takes an hour to fly and 4 hours to drive. Or like 30 minutes to fly and 4 hours to drive. Okay. But it takes 4 hours to drive from leaving my house to arriving versus leaving my house. That was my Slack. Leaving my house on a lift or something, or getting to somewhere I can drop my car off at the airport, then getting to the airport. Then I have to get through security. Then I have to do all of this at such an early time because you don't know how busy security is going to be. So you got to go there with enough time. Then you got to sit around in probably uncomfortable chairs, or maybe comfortable chairs. Don't know. In a crowded airport with a bunch of people, and you got to whip the Switch out. You're just going to play that for a while. Maybe read something on your phone, read some comics you downloaded, or a book. You wait for the plane. Then you're going to board the plane. Oh, and if you had to check a bag, ooh, boy, that's a whole nother thing once you get there, because then you gotta get on the plane, then you gotta fly, which again, flying process, not bad. But then you gotta wait for the plane, so 30 minutes flying. Cool. But now we gotta wait for the plane as we get off the plane, then we gotta, if we check the bag again, you gotta go get that bag, and of course it's gonna be like the last one on the carousel, because that's how it always is for some reason. And then you gotta do whatever it is to get from the airport to the destination that you wanted to get to while you're there. If that doesn't take 4 hours, like, all right, maybe it'll be worth it. Like, I need the whole, but it probably will take 4 hours. I want the whole experience to be less than the drive, or like the other method of transportation. And if so, then yeah, flying. And if not, let's drive. It's all that extra stuff, and it's so stressful. I just really don't like it. All right, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, it's dyslexic for numbers. Cool, I have that too. I honestly didn't know they were called two different things, because I knew, because numbers and letters act the same to me visually. And then I learned that they were two different things, and I was like, what? What do you... That blows my mind that you can look at something and just because it's a different symbol, it doesn't switch for you. Like, that's wild to me. Because, like, I think I have that happen with, like, physical objects, let alone text. It's wild. Yeah, the act of flying, fun. The whole process, less fun. I love road trip in theory, but in practice, I'm an adult with a job, and I have to take time off work. And the idea of taking time off work to sit in a car for multiple days is unappealing now. Yeah, that's fair. That's where flying definitely better. Because the multiple days, like if I wanted to, when I went to San Francisco for the GTFO event, like, that flight was like 4 hours, 5 hours. It's like, yeah, that's a much better use of my time than several days driving cross country. One hour for domestic here. Oh, that's nice. If I can fly 3 hours or drive 18 hours, I'm going to pick the flight. Yeah. When you're dealing with time like that, it's like, okay, fly. But when you're dealing with, like, when the drive, you have to reach a threshold of in the hours where the time saved has to be past that point. Otherwise, I'd rather drive. I'm on a waiting list to get evaluated. Man. Is there, like, medication? Because those are all things that, like, I know I have, but I've never sought treatment because I never thought there was treatment, but I've never looked into that. That's kind of silly of me. I should find out. Also, after getting in a car wreck, I have about the same amount of anxiety about dying in a fiery plane crash as dying in a fiery car crash. So, like, 3 hours of panic versus 18 hours of panic. Oh, no. I'm sorry you were in a car wreck. And that brings anxiety. I like traveling in general because it's a pain. I like traveling. The setup can be a pain. But I do love going places. I love seeing new things. I love meeting people. I love going to a thing. Sometimes I psych myself out with the work, though. If I could teleport, I'd be much more okay with doing places. What if you could only teleport like 1 foot at a time, though? And then if you say that would be fine, then just pretend like you're teleporting every time you take a step. Stuff like dyscalculia, I think it's more about being able to get accommodations, so maybe less helpful after school. Just something we gotta live with. So if each of the for each of the NPCs we're creating, we're going to list in great detail their transportation preferences. Yes, and how many ounces of fluid they bring on each domestic and international flight. That is correct. What's up, Penta? How are you doing? Good to see you again. Partner? Yes, you can only teleport the distance one pace, exactly. Kind of like you can time travel, but only at a set speed and always into the future. If it was multiple days driving, guess I'd fly, but I have to choose driving 14, 50 hours rather than fly. One day on the road is okay for me. I don't see myself going further than that anytime soon. Totally fair. His characters seem to be able to save versus travel anxiety. Oh my gosh, where do I need to put those points so I can have less travel anxiety? Where do those points go? I would love to lower that. Can I raise my intelligence score as well? So I can be a little less of a dumbass? That would be great. I'd be a big fan. That's the beauty of games. You can create something that is beyond what you can obtain. I can play a intelligent, well-spoken person, or shoot magic out of my fingertips. Both things I do not have here in real life. You know, that's the joys of gaming. Technically, you ride an airplane, you are time traveling. The, what was it? PBS Cosmos? They did a really good job in that series. It's like a 4 or 6 part series explaining, like, how space-time works, and how if you were traveling at a certain speed and then, like, looked in a certain direction, you wouldn't see, like, the present. You'd technically be able to see, like, different points, and it's why, like, when you see something moving fast from one angle, it looks completely different than when you see something moving fast from a different angle. I did not retain all of that, but it was endlessly fascinating. That was also the one where they were like, if forward momentum in time is just everything happening in, you know, these exact coordinates, then technically reverse time would just be all those same things happening in the exact opposite coordinates. That's theoretically possible. We just don't know how to control it. Or if that's actually the case and we're unaware of some other factor. I think that's the same one where they describe how gravity works, where it was like, think of the space as a sheet, and then like a heavy object, a planet, being a bowling ball on the sheet, and that's why when you roll a ball past it, it's caught in its orbit because it's caught in the gravity that's pulling the sheet down, so the ball will go around it. It's basically that, but like 3-dimensional space. Stuff like that. It's just like, oh man, I love it when people tell me very complex things in a very subtle, or not subtle, very like simplistic and understandable manner. So my tiny brain can understand it. Really, really awesome stuff. Can I play as someone who can own their own house? No. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you can. You can just, if you're playing Lexicon, one of your qualities can be homeowner. That could just be on there. How does that help you? Who knows? It is a very hard thing. It's freaking wild. We might talk about RPGs today. I'm here to entertain you. If this is what we do all day and you all have a good time, like, I ain't gonna sweat it, and I'll just do this. I'll talk about NPCs next week, and I'll have more stuff to do, and all other stuff I've done. But like, I'm here to entertain you. This is the theme. If we get off topic, we get off topic. But yeah, like the fact that there is that inflation and like wage stagnation and like, oh my gosh, so many things. Freaking gig economy and like all the ways that it's constantly people are being money being taken away from people and being consolidated in the hands of a few that are very rich. It's freaking maddening. Absolutely maddening. All velocity is relative, and the order of events is subjective at relativistic speeds. The government's GPS satellites experience time dilation. Not a lot, but enough that GPS systems have to account for it. That's so... Oh my gosh, something happened. Oh, it's True Mandalorian. What's up, True Mandalorian? Are you here to hear us talk about completely random stuff today? I hope so, because you say 4 months of wonderful entertainment. Thank you, True Mandalorian. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your ongoing 4-month support of the absolute what's a work friendly word for that S word, but that fits well with show. The Shoopla show. This Shoopla show I put on almost every day. This shish kebab show. This show kebab. Today's RPG help desk. Eat the rich. That's every day. Every day in my life is like, yeah, but what if we all ate the rich? What about that? Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't our lives be collectively better if we ate the rich? Show kebab makes me think of a dog show where you parade kebabs out to be judged. I don't know why it makes you think of that, but that's great. I'm here for anything and everyone. Well, that's good. The rich are full of trans fats. Oh no, that's the one that, like, I don't know why it's bad. I just know that it's supposed to be bad. Call dibs on the Benzo's thigh meat. I don't know why that's really funny to me, but it is really funny to me. We shouldn't eat the rich then, we should burn them for fuel. I like where your head's at. Like, we could eat them, but we'd have to up our cardio for a while after that. Yeah. Alright, so use them for fuel. Or non-organic fuel. Organic, like, I guess if you eat something, you are essentially using it for fuel. It's just fueling you. That kind of bad fat. Cancel Jesse. Dang it. That's it. Here it comes. I never thought I would get popular enough to be canceled, but here it is. Glad to see I'm not the only one in a dour mood today. I'm sorry you're in a dour mood, but I guess if we all get together, all like 12 of us here. I guess I count as a person, so like 13 of us. But probably some of those that's telling me are in chat are bots. So like all like 6 of us here. 7, 8, 9. Let's get together and feel all right. It doesn't count bots? Oh, okay. Well, then there's actually like maybe 12 people here. Can confirm I am a bit. It knows like Santa Claus. Can we eat a couple as a treat? Everybody loves dessert. A little fatty dessert. You know, just don't overindulge because then you'll be like the rich. Yes, but after our veggies. We could give this kobold PC a cute pet for a serotonin boost. Crawdad, it's funny that you mentioned that because one of the characters that I wanted to make today, which we may or may not get around to, it doesn't matter, was a merfolk from Downspout. So someone who, like, you know, could be in the water or out of the water with ease. So like have qualities like amphibious, and like swim through water like merfolk, get on land and kind of slither, sort of like a naga, where you got like that long tail, which for naga is way longer, for merfolk much shorter, so it'd be like kind of a stumpy slither. And I was like, should I give him a pet? I feel like we should make some sort of pet. It'd be fun if they had a pet that could also a pet either that could also go in and out of the water, or a pet that really doesn't like the water, and that whenever they go underwater with the pet, they have like some sort of like reverse fishbowl sort of situation, where it's like if you have a parakeet and you're gonna go underwater with the parakeet, you gotta like put it in its a little like watertight hamster ball, and then like take it underwater with you, and then it's like, oh, we're in my underwater house, and it's like, here's a diving bell where the house is, and then open it up, and then you know you're inside, which is not underwater, but you're underwater, but it's a diving bell, so it's okay. And it's like, all right, time to go surface level, get back into your thing, and then you go back up. So I was wavelength. I was trying to think about a cute pet to give that character. How could you have any pudding if you don't eat your billionaire meat? Doubt billionaires taste very good. Probably not. I mean, I assume human doesn't taste good, but maybe that's just, you know, the anti-cannibal propaganda I've heard my whole life. Just kidding. Cannibalism is probably not good. But also I imagine it's like the opposite of the meat I like, which is like, I like really tough meat. Like I like dark meat, and I like venison. Like I like muscly meat as opposed to fatty meat. I feel like billionaires would probably be a lot of fatty meat. Like this meat's not getting a lot of work put into it, I would assume. It's possible to have a character with a pet who technically get 2 turns each time. Penta. Yes, that is a usually an absolutely massive problem in games. So there's a term I'll throw around a lot called action economy, which is in games basically the amount of, I feel like my hair is really flat today and I don't know why. Basically like the amount of things you can do in a turn, the economy of your action. So if you can move and attack, you know, that's like, okay, you have 2 pieces of action economy. If you have a character that can move and attack and cast a spell and do another and like move again, it's like, oh, you have twice as much action economy. Or you just have 4 actions you can do as opposed to 2 actions, and you decide what you do with those. And that is a problem in a lot of RPGs, where when you get a pet and that pet moves independently, you have essentially doubled your action economy as a character. So yes, it can, depending on the system you're playing, it can be kind of like having two characters. So generally, there's a lot of things that are trying to do to counterbalance this. So if it's a class like in like 5e, which is a little bit busted with that. Actually, 5e or not 5e, 3e, which is busted in a lot of ways, but like if it's a class that gives you a animal companion, you'll sometimes have less powerful stuff compared to everybody else to counteract the fact that you have an animal. So that would be that's one way to deal with it. There's other ways where it's like you divide your actions. So like if you have 4 actions you can do in a turn and you have an animal companion, you can do 3 actions and your animal companion can do 1, or you can do 2 and your animal can do 2. So it kind of depends on how the system works and if it's actually designed well to counter things like action economy. And also how powerful the creature is. So like if you cast a spell to summon a creature, it's like, cool, that took a turn to do. That took a resource, a magic spell or like whatever for you to do. And now that thing is going to kind of move independently. But is it powerful? Like, can it die in one turn? Is it going to last more than a few seconds? Is it like you summon a parakeet? Like, all right, cool. What's it going to do for you? Like, there's a lot of ways to kind of guide on how to make that animal companion help you out and what it can do. That was barely an answer. I'm not even sure if it was an answer. Basically, yes, you can have an animal companion in most games. Yes, it can give you basically double actions if it's not designed properly. Humans probably taste like pork? Maybe. We smell and taste like pork by all accounts. Which part of pork? Because like a pork chop smells and tastes very different than like bacon. Maybe semi-aquatic matter, like a beaver or otter. Oh, an otter would be super cute. You like your meat burnt, so you probably would survive. Ah! It's got me. Got hooked on that. You mean I like my food cooked? Yes, I do like my food cooked. True Mandalorian. I'm not some sort of raw... What's the name of the people that they just only eat raw food? There's a name for that, where it's like you'll only have vegetables raw. I did know someone that for a while, she did only eat raw meat as well. Like, she only ate raw meat included. I mean, she survived. She was like, you have to be very careful where you get your meat, and you have to, like, pay attention to it for, like, specific signs of things. Because cooking generally gets rid of a lot of stuff. And if you're not cooking it, you have to be very aware of what the meat may contain. Used up all your hair swoopiness for the week the other day. Dang it. Didn't mean to do that. Optional rules in 5e for sidekicks, which are kind of demi characters. Most of my AP was used up today trying to get out of bed. It was a hard one. Oof, I'm sorry. Wonder if one D&D will fix companions. Italian, let me tell you something. If your question is, will the next version of D&D fix something? The answer is no. It might do it differently. It might even do it better. Ain't gonna fix it though. Read this. Read there is a where 5e rules for Starbucks. And I was like, dang, that's so specific. What? Like the coffee place? All meat should be rare or blue. Maybe except for chicken. Blue? What meat is blue? Rare bacon? Do you like rare bacon? Do you like rare ham? don't get it. Like, I am curious. Not like to shame you if you're like, yeah, I love rare bacon. I'm just very curious. That was pointed at Penta, but anybody can answer that. I'm curious who likes rare bacon. I'm gonna raw diet for a while. But she was also vegan at the time. Oh yeah, well, that would remove meat. Cooked food is too delicious. Oh yeah, it's great. Oh, sidekicks, but my brain said Starbucks. Do you need some coffee, Rat Beach? Is that what's happening right now? By the way, did you decide how you're going to level Grindelwald? I did. Which, tragically, it found out there was a problem with some of our files. Something happened, I'm not sure what. So I actually get to slightly rebuild Grindelwald, but I found, like, all my old stats and stuff. Well, like, original rolled stats, which was very helpful. But I'm going to do one level of rogue so I can get the double expertise. So I get two things of expertise. And then I'm just going to go alchemist for the rest of it. It's like the alchemist stuff. They're late game stuff. I don't know. I just wasn't really feeling it. But I don't have anything else to do. But like 2 skill checks with double proficiency. That's worth a level for me. I would also get some of the other rogue stuff. Like, ooh, I would get a sneak attack. Like, okay, but that might be useful at some point. Like, ooh, I get like another thing. They don't get a whole lot at first level, but that one thing though, that expertise on 2 skills, it's like 90% of game mechanics Grindelwald does. I don't like. I always need some coffee. That's fair. I kind of wanted another coffee today. We found my partner bought. She was like, this seems silly, but I really want to try this. And it was fudge whipped cream, like basically just chocolate whipped cream. It's amazing. And I've been putting it on my coffee a lot. It's fantastic. I don't like my bacon to be crispy. Maybe I don't fully think that's. Maybe I didn't fully think that statement though. Okay. Yeah, how? Well, I was gonna say how cooked do you like your fish, but like sushi is a thing, so like fair. Rip my dreams apart, Bard Grindelwald. Bard had some cool stuff too, but it wasn't worth putting more than a few levels into. Maybe, I don't know. Alchemist spells are rough. They do not get many spells, but you get like elixir. Well, I don't get elixirs. That's for the like drink, the mixologist. I'm the cannoneer or whatever. Fortunately, I'm fine with not being a powerful character. I'm not like, oh man, I gotta make sure I've got like the real meta game happening here. I gotta make sure I pull my weight in combat. Grindelwald's job is to be nice and to make connections and find magic items and sell them. Yeah, they're sport half-casters. They are. I made this Cocoa Nibs whipped cream earlier this year. What the heck is a Cocoa Nibs whipped cream? Like, I took some Cocoa Nibs and soaked them in cream overnight. What's a Cocoa Nib? All duck, venison, beef, and pigeon should be rare. What does pigeon taste like? I'm very curious. That's fair. I don't like any of those things rare. I don't like the taste. Because, like, well, no, I don't think I've ever had rare venison or... Maybe I haven't had rare duck. I don't know. But, like, rare meat, Like the taste of the like red meat just doesn't taste good to me. So the whipped cream was still white, but it tastes like chocolate. Ooh, that sounds good. Nibs are just broken up cocoa beans. Oh, okay. Half-casters? Yeah, so like a... hang on, let me just bring it up. Oh, artificer, not alchemist. Alchemist is a thing. So, like here for the the artificer, so like you max out at 5th level on your spells, and you don't even get them until 17th level. So you're basically a half caster. Versus a wizard, which Discordia. I know you. You know what a wizard is. I'm not going to bring it up on screen. Where you go up to 9th level with your spells, and you get spells much faster. So like 5th level, you get 2nd level spells. So like you only make it halfway through. Yeah, artificer, paladin, ranger. There's probably another one, but I don't know what it is. Pigeon's ice, very gamey, like pheasant. I mean, I'm sure we have pheasants somewhere in the States. Not like a thing I see outside, like pigeons sometimes. There are some subclasses that went there. Yeah, like, is it the mage hand? Not mage hand, rogue. There's a rogue subclass that gets you, like, very minimal magic. I don't know if it's a full 3rd or not, but... Sigmar Ranger? I don't remember what Sigmar's class is. I might have several half-casters. But yeah, so I will have... We were at 6th level, and I think we were getting like 3 levels. So I would get Flash of Genius and Ability Score Improvement. And then rather than getting another special feature, I would get the 1st level in Rogue. Eldritch Knight. An Arcane Trickster. Arcane Trickster! That's it. But the specialist thing, let me tell you, real underwhelming. Hang on, where is it? For the artillerist. Your special thing. Your explosive cannon. Start at 9th levels, your cannons are more destructive. You roll an extra d8 on damage. And as an action, you can detonate the cannon. And it's got 20 feet. Everything makes a dexterity saving throw. And takes 3d8 force damage if it fails. Half it's successful. So you do 3d8 damage instead of 2d8 for your flamethrower and your ballista. Which, like... Alright. I think I use it for healing more, though. And that doesn't get buffed. Which is super lame. So, like, these two get buffed, but this doesn't? Boo. People here hunt for pheasant. Or I think you can get it at a fancy restaurant. Probably. You get lots of things at fancy restaurants. Go get some... I can't think of anything fancy. Prosciutto? Is that fatty salami that's not as good? A thing I've learned, and maybe this is like... Oh, it's a 1d8 boost per round, though. Which really stacks up over longer combat. I don't... Per round? I don't think it stacks per round. They all increase by 1d8. Yeah. I mean, every time you use it, it's 3d8 instead of 2d8, but it's not like 3d8 and then 4d8 and then 5d8, which, if that were the case, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Because then that's like, oh, there's a term for it, like sustaining fire. Like, the more you focus on something, like, oh, I'm going to flamethrower this, and it's like, it's just getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and that would actually be really awesome. But yeah, unless I'm reading it wrong, it's just your straight damage is just one. It's just 3d8 instead of 2d8. Some interesting mixes in Mass Effect 5e. Tell me about a good one. I want to hear it. Some people do get creative within the system, and I do like hearing how people manipulate stuff. Oh, yeah, it does 3d8 instead of 2d8. Yeah, it is more. Absolutely. Like, that is... I'm not going to shake a stick at an extra d8 damage, but not healing. I'll shake a stick at that part. But, like... I really... Like, that's not... huge for me. I mean, it's cool, but like, yeah. It's there. If I have to whip out a cannon, that's nice. Stake a shick. Yep. But on the subject of what Penta brought up. So this is an example of action economy. Sort of. Here's another, if I remember correctly, hang on. Was it a bonus? Yeah. So like in 5e, for like Grinderbin, I can use these cannons, which essentially is another character, sort of, that I am controlling when I summon a cannon. So one of the ways that they made it work is every turn you have, I believe, one bonus action. And there's, depending on your class and like what skills you have and whatnot, there are, or not skills, but abilities you have, there are several things you could do with a bonus action. For me, as an artillerist, I can use my bonus action to command my thing. So, that means that I can't use that bonus action for something else. So, it's giving me, it's not giving me any additional action economy in a sense, but I have to have something to fill that bonus action with, or nothing's going to happen during it. So like rogues have a bonus action of they can retreat or run or hide. So if I, take levels in rogue, I can, and I whip out a cannon with my bonus action, I can't also use my bonus action to then retreat. And it does it each turn. So every turn I have to use my bonus action. I think that's how it works with animal companions too, where it costs your bonus action to order them to attack, and then they'll attack or retreat or fly into the air, carry you away. Does that make sense? Probably not. I feel like that was only a decent, at best, explanation if you already understood the mechanics. It's not super awesome, but as mentioned, there is a support caster. The cannon is there so that it can still be doing damage while your main action each round is helping the party members. That is true, and that's what I do like about the cannons. I could be like, you go out there. They're not super sturdy, though, so they can't get wrecked pretty hard, which is why I like the healing one, so I can help everybody and they can be sturdy, and then that cannon can continue to help them be sturdy. I may bother Jack and be like, does the healing get buffed? There's probably a reason the healing doesn't get buffed, though. Still sad about it. One of the Vanguard subclasses has a Battle Master Fighter archetype with extend barrier tricks. Shield used to invoke biotic effects where weapons attack. Woo! That's actually pretty cool. I hit them with a lifting attack, and they float helplessly into the air until their next turn. Ah, yes, I love it. I like what Pathfinder 2 did with its 3 action system. Italian. I love what Pathfinder 2 did. Pathfinder 2 is the proper evolution of what 3rd edition was. I do think for what it is, like the type of game that Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder have been trying to fill the niche of for like 500 years or however long they've been around. I think Pathfinder 2 is the best system for that style of gameplay without hesitation, or what's that other word? Without hesitation or equivocation, without any buts. Like, no bones about it. Like, it's just a really solid way to run that style of game, and I do like it. Reservations? Yeah, we could use that too. That's a good one, Discordia. Without reservations. It is just flat out the best system for that style of gameplay. That grid-based, combat-focused gameplay that Pathfinder and D&D and I'm sure another game I'm missing out on does. It is no exception. Yeah. Definitely feels like D&D and Pathfinder are getting closer to convergence again at this point. Yeah, which, I mean, it makes sense because, you know, I mean, Pathfinder was built on D&D is moving to 4E. Paizo was like, but people like 3E, so like, we're just going to keep making 3E. And they made like a couple of small changes, but it was basically 3.75. And then Pathfinder 2 is an evolution of that. Which again, it's a solid system. I actually like what they did with Pathfinder 2. I did get to play it for a while, and I got to play a not monster, well, sort of Monster Hunter. It was like a Monster Hunter style campaign, and I got to play someone made around like Dragon's Dogma style combat, where I was like, I want to just climb large monsters and stab them in the head. And I could do that. Like, that was a thing. And it worked really well. And it was super fun. And I ended up taming a wyvern. It was great. The GM was very surprised. I was too. Pathfinder 2 copied a lot of 5E's work, and now 1D&D has taken several things out of Pathfinder's 2 book. Makes sense. Need to head to dinner. Waves. Bye, Discordia. Thank you for stopping in. Thank you for telling us about cool biotic abilities. When someone hits you with when someone hits shield thing from Mass Effect. That is cool. Thanks for just being a positive voice in this little slice of the internet we all cohabitate together in. Thank you. Enjoy your dinner. $30 minutes left. Do you think we'll actually get to NPCs? So what do you have a one sentence opinion or one sentence opinion on 1D&D? Oh, and as soon as I say that, I've been enjoying playing my druid built in the 1D&D playset rules. Oh, cool. Well, that's good. Oh, howdy, Pogson. How are you? We're very off topic today. We may get to NPCs. I mean, I kind of hope we do, but also, like I said earlier, I'm just here to, like, entertain. And if everybody just wants to talk random stuff, I'm good with that. Immediately if I gotta catch the end of this. Nice. Yeah, I still got like 30 minutes. And then I have to walk to the store and buy broccoli for dinner, which I'm excited about. I like broccoli. Another thing that I like cooked, not raw. Raw broccoli, like it's on a vegetable platter. Cooked broccoli. Delicious, especially with cheese. Yeah, Pathfinder was what if D&D was still 3.5. That's basically what it is. It's like 3.75 because D&D was going to 4.0 and like Pathfinder had like a couple of changes. Like they changed the combat maneuver thing, so rather than doing like a grappling where it's like, oh, what you call it, thing, like a strength check followed by grappling was it's really weird. 3, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do a strength check and I'm gonna do this thing and then I gotta like, and it was like, if you are this size you get this bonus, if your strength is this you get this bonus, if you're trying to avoid getting grappled it's this formula, which I didn't really like. It was like one of the few things they changed. But it made smaller creatures just way, like basically just mechanically impossible to be good grapplers, which made me sad because I wanted to make a size tiny sprite wrestler and the game said no. It's hard to have an overall opinion yet since it's just released bits and pieces, but I've liked most of the changes I've seen thus far. Changing background to be more important than species was a good move, on having arcade primal divine spells makes more sense than individual class spell lists. That does make a lot of sense, actually. I really enjoyed Pathfinder. I haven't tired of 2 yet, though. Well, that's good. I think 2 is even better than 1. And like the on the subject of things that it takes or that are similar to it from like 5e, where it's like 5e you have your proficiency bonus, but it's like your proficiency is like it's a 2 and then it's 3, it's 4, it's 5, and then it maxes out at 6. Like your proficiency bonus in Pathfinder 2 is equal to your total level. And if you are proficient in thing, you always add your proficiency bonus to it. And it's easy to calculate your proficiency bonus because it's always your total level. So if you have 2 levels in Bard and 1 level in Wizard and 3 levels in Summoner, I think that's a class in Pathfinder. What was that? A total of 6. Boom, you get 6. When you cast a spell, you got boom 6 to it. Oh, you go swing your sword that you're proficient with because you're a whatever thing that I mentioned that has swords. Bards, they use swords. Cool. Boom, it's just an even 6. Don't worry about it. And you know, if you got your modifier in your stats, but like it's really nice. It's not this. It's just super straightforward. And it makes every level feel good. Like that was another thing I really liked about Pathfinder 2 is like every level actually feels good, because unlike this where it's like, oh, level 1 and 2, I don't get any new spells. I don't get a new proficiency bonus. I'll get new cantrips. Dang. I mean, I get infused item. I guess that's kind of cool, but like I was kind of hoping these would go up. Every level, proficiency is up. Every time. Doesn't matter. So you actively get better at all the things that you want to do, because it's all things that you're proficient in. Every single level. Done. So I think that was a great choice. And I was like, and you know, the game's more balanced for that. So it's like expecting, it knows, you know, at level 20, you're going to have a plus 20 to everything you're doing. Very important. Little pixie that's extremely well trained in jujitsu. Yeah! Exactly. Punch you with little fists. Grapple you. Seem to be emphasizing feats to disincentivize people from just doing ability score improvement, which I like. There's no nuance to I'm stronger now. That's cool. I think feats are way more interesting than stats, so I like that. Again, the thing I like about Pathfinder 2, that they did really well. Feats are like everything in that game. It's awesome. Not literally everything. There's lots of other stuff, but feats are fantastic in that game. Yeah, feats are fairly unappealing. It is sad in 5e. And getting them is annoying. Like, the variant rule is you can avoid an ability score up improvement for a feat, but your ability to score improvement is going to affect so many things. Like, oh, I want to put it to Constitution. Cool. Well, that's going to affect your HP. That's good. Oh, I want to put it to Strength because I'm a melee character. You know, what feat is going to counter a +1 to your attack and damage, your strength-based skill checks, your strength save for a melee character? Oh, as an alchemist, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to stop taking these until I hit 20 in intelligence because that's going to affect my spell saves. And like a bunch of the abilities that I get for my class, like times used per day is X plus your intelligence modifier, whatever your score modifier is. So it's like, yeah, it's definitely incentivized here to improve ability scores versus feats, with a few exceptions, but mostly that. Most feats give you a +1 in ability score, plus a couple new feature abilities, rather than a +2 increase to set. Are you talking about Italian? Is that sentence referring to D&D 1? Because I'm fairly certain that's exactly how Pathfinder 2 does it. Like, straight up. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what Pathfinder 2 does. Level 1. Here's some really basic stuff you could do. Level 2. What did you expect? Something for leveling up? Yeah, pretty much, Deeps. That's a nice part about Pathfinder, but it requires a completely different number scale for the entire game. 5e has bounded accuracy. Yeah. It did have to... You can't just, like, kind of soft change things because of it. It did require a whole overhaul. Because, again, level 20 is +20 on top of everything else. So, it'd be really cool. Jujitsu Pixie. She can't grapple in the normal way. Too small. But she understands how to gain leverage. She needs by smacking the right points. Makes it look at her enemies just trying to flag, do backflips. Yeah, that was the thing. Is like, if you're tiny, like, you're grappling, but you're not just like overpowering them. It's like, oh, you're maneuvering around them. You're like hitting weak points. You're like jabbing them in the back of the knee to bring them down, as opposed to just like grabbing them and pulling them down. Like, you're hitting pressure points. You're like doing a more active sort of thing, but you're still grappling them. Like, you are still engaged in holding on to them and manipulating them the way you want them to go. So yeah, you got it. You got it, Deeps. That's pretty much what I was thinking. Like, where your head's at. Has been a long time since I looked at Pathfinder 2 rules. So it might be. I think it is. Like I said, 1DD is copying a lot of their work, so it wouldn't surprise me. Fair. Maybe that's the NPC we can make for another place, is the grappling pixie. Basically means that the numbers don't get too incredibly high. Oh, yeah, like 18. Yeah. That was a big thing for 5e. Is like, wherein, you know, Pathfinder 2, again, you'll end up with a +20 at 20th level versus 5e, where you'll end up with a +6 at 20th level. 6, arguably, easier to add to numbers. but not as much fun. Pathfinders just said the numbers grow much faster. You can end up with plus 30 to your hit, so AC to increase accordingly for every attack would hit every time at higher levels. Yeah. This idea has morphed into my head into a professional pixie wrestling tag team. I love it. I am here for pixie tag team wrestlers. I think that's a fantastic idea. They could be lucha adorable. We can workshop the name. But I really like pixie tag team wrestlers. Oh no, see about it. She has an AC of 24. I have a plus 34 to hit, so I can attack 5 times. Yep, that's Pathfinder, all right. Also, Pathfinder has a thing that I really like that Pathfinder 2 has is it has success and failure thresholds. So like crits, it's like critical, like, what is it called? I forget the threshold, but it's basically like if your AC is 15, a critical success, like a hit would be a 15, a critical success would be like a 20, and then like would be at least 5 to 9 over, and then your like super crit would be like if it's 10 or plus over. Like, so if you hit with a 25, I forget the exact numbers, but yeah, if you beat it by like 10, oh, you do something extra cool. If you beat it by 5, then you do something cool. But it goes the same way for failure. If you get below 5 below, you whiffed pretty hard and something happens. And if you get more than 10 below, it's like, oh no. Yeah, degrees of success are incredible and I love them. Okay, critical success and failure is nice. Yeah, it's plus 10, minus 10 of the threshold. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's really, really neat. It made hitting, when I was playing Pathfinder 2, it made like that, because again, combat-based system. So like it made success feel really good. And it made failure have an additional weight to it. And it made that difference. So like in 5e and in a lot of other games, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this thing that I have specialized in. And I'm going to do it so well. And I get 20 over my target number. Wow. Does the exact same thing as if you got 1 over. And like, but it's a thing you're specialized in. Like, it's a thing that you have put so much character points into, and like thought, and like you want both mechanically and thematically this thing to just be what you excel at, that you want it to be a grand thing. And that if you have those sort of thresholds, then that work actually pays off, which is really cool. We used to play with a critical failure success check deck that was wild and wouldn't recommend all the time. Oh, I've seen those. Yeah. They could be real swingy. I love the idea of the critical success and failure decks, where like you draw a card and it lets you know like, oh, you damaged your weapon, or oh, you blinded your opponent. Like, but they are very swingy and not necessarily thematic. Like, oh, you damaged your weapon, and it's like, well, I'm punching him, and it's like, oh, I guess you hurt your hand. Like, you can make it work, but like, not always perfect. That's what they have in the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game. Cool. They have it in Savage Worlds. There's a state of like going over a certain amount, which is great. Savage Worlds also has exploding die, and exploding die are super fun. Exploding die is when if you roll the highest number on a die, you roll that die again, and then add the numbers together. So if you roll, a d6 and it lands on a 6, you roll it again. And if it's a 2, that means you got an 8 on a d6 roll. Very impressive. 2 higher than you can possibly do. You can also keep going. So like I roll 6 and it's 6, and I roll d6 again and it's another 6, and then I roll 3. That's a 15. It's pretty boss. Things went real well. I haven't played the the Warhammer role-playing games. I've heard they're cool, but also really brutal. Like, death is going to happen. You build characters that you know are going to die, is what I've heard. I just checked Pathfinder foods. They do not include ability scores, but you do get more of them. Okay. Then I was just straight wrong. Yeah, DC 15 to 15 and 30 are mechanically identical. I don't like that, yeah. Watching Adventure's Eyes give me the impression that no matter what specialization character has, it's all down to the luck of the roll. Penta. That is, oh my gosh, I am so far behind. Jeez. That is I think, flaw in 5e. And admittedly a flaw in some other games too, but that and that's called when I say swinginess, that's what I mean. I put everything I have in Grinderbin into like social skills, and I'll have a plus, let's say 9 to my roll. But I'm rolling a d20, which can land from anywhere from 1 to 20. So that means my actual check is going to land somewhere between, if I have a plus 9, somewhere between 10 and 29. So that swinginess is huge. And it is more dependent on the roll of the die than the amount of skills I put into it. Sure, a plus 9 is going to give me statistically better results than someone with a plus 3 to whatever that roll is, who didn't put a lot of points into it. But because of how much that swings, we still have a large area of overlap, even though one character has put a lot more effort into that. So it's one of the reasons I like playing systems other than D&D, is because I like playing systems that allow better roles for actually putting points into things, and like actually specializing and playing off a character gives you a better chance of success and a better like usefulness of that success, and like a better like, I don't know, it's more rewarding to build that up because you're better off, you have a better chance of doing it. And like and it's not a guarantee that you'll do it. If I put all my points in computer use, awesome. If I find a super secure computer, ooh, that's a big challenge. Normal people would never even stand a chance. Now it's a challenge for me. So, that kind of stuff. Very chaotic, but not fun all the time. Yeah, that seems how those decks would be. Idea for one shot. Something went wrong with magic. A group of spellcasters need to work together with unpredictable magic powers to find out what happens next and fix it. I love that idea. 5e and 1D have a bigger emphasis on class features that everyone of the class gets at that level. Pathfinder has a few of those, but it's mostly different kinds of feats, which makes characters more complicated, but also more unique. Yeah. They are incredibly brutal. I don't really like it, to be honest, but I love the tables, so I'm still playing it. Well, it's good that you have a good table. A good table can make up for a bad game. Look at Dungeons and Dragons. I don't mind being dependent on the luck of the dice. If you succeed all the time, it'll be boring. That's true. And that's why I like having, something that you have, the dice are there, or what other mechanic you're using. That, like, it's never a guaranteed success. No matter how many points you put into it. Something can go wrong. An element outside of your control can affect you. It could always slow you down or stop you somehow. But that there's less swing. So if you're a seasoned mechanic, you are less likely to roll low and not realize that the car is out of gas and that's why it's not working. Versus with a very swingy system, you can still miss something completely obvious. It's been frustrating to watch someone roll with a +1 way higher. The thing that you got your character built around, yeah. What does imbused mean? I'm not sure. What does imbused mean? Like infused? Did I write imbused? Or was that on this? Is that on this page? It wasn't on that page. Is it? Was it in here? Oh, I did write imbused. Wait, did I write the wrong word? What does imbused mean? Ow! Imbused. There it is. What does imbused mean? No suggestions. I think I probably meant to put infused. Or imbued. And spell check was like, that's a word. Hang on, so if we go to dictionary.com, what word is it? Imbused. I don't know why Word accepts this word. I don't have an answer for that question. Couldn't find any similar words. It broke me. I don't know. Well, now I'm gonna read. I don't know why this is in my dictionary. Now I have to find out. If you're really into you will always be better at this thing if you put a bunch of points into it. That discourages people from getting outside their comfort zone. So all the charisma-based characters do all the talking, all the strength-based characters do all the fighting. Which is why, again, I think there should be degrees. Like there's some level of randomness. And I think some of that should play into like in-game stuff as well. Like you have a charisma-based character and they want to sweet talk someone, and the character they want to sweet talk doesn't like that charisma-based character. It doesn't matter how good they are at their charisma skills. The character they are trying to charm is going to be like, freaking buzz off, dude. I don't like you. Like, I don't care. You annoy me. And so they won't be able to use their skills on that person. Or someone else will have something they like more. There's a technique I like to use when trying to get someone to like warm up to a table. And be more, who's trying to get more comfortable with role playing, is have an NPC that specifically wants to talk to that character. Like they recognize their accent and it's like, oh, you're from X. I grew up there. And like they don't give a hoot about the rest of the party. They don't care about the person who has the big like hoopla scam that they're going to put together to get this person on their side. They only want to talk to this person. And so you can use that as like an in-game thing to kind of play with around the mechanics of like charisma and stuff like that. Degrees of success can contribute a lot to the tone of a game. We're playing Blades in the Dark now. And only a 6 on a D6 is an unqualified success. 5 or less, at best, success with a consequence. Ooh, wow. That adds lots of tension to every roll, which suits the setting and themes. That's really cute. I like that. I think it's an unintentional portmanteau. Maybe. To the same extent, it's the DM to make the swinginess make sense. E.g. the season's mechanic. The car was out of gas because they immediately went looking for the challenging, complicated, more interesting. To an extent, I agree. I still don't like it when it's too swingy. I want some level of randomness, but I feel like if it's to a point where you're not feeling rewarded for the amount of effort you're putting into it, or if you, on the other side, if you're like building a game, you're making a campaign for people, and you can't use hard numbers because you're never sure where someone's gonna fall, and you're always kind of like, well, I think it's gonna have to be between these for all this stuff. Like, that's when I feel like it's too swingy, at least for my taste. It could be an intentional portmanteau now. Makes sense, though. I like it. You're like Shakespeare. Okay. I'm going to try and catch up on this chat. It's not a good way. Can't make wheels. And Sigmar can't hit anything with his bow. Yeah, like, that's a really good example. Like, I feel like Sigmar's inability to shoot things with his bow is a good example. He, by now, statistically, for the amount of points he puts into it, he should be able to be mildly successful with his bow. And yet, that dude just comically misses. And he can hit, and it is random. So it's like, he doesn't literally miss every attack. Sometimes he stabs things very effectively. But, like, those bow shots are hindering what the character should be able to do. And it is random that it is almost always the bow as opposed to a different weapon. But I know for Casey, that's pretty disheartening. He wanted to make an archer. Like, it continues to thwart him. I love when he tried to shoot things. I have levels of difficulty, though. For example, 25 AC, 5 easier difficulty character with plus 10 bonus succeeds, 25% chance of time, while a character with a plus 2 literally cannot. You can. But also, that swinginess, 25% of the time. So, if you have 5 people in a let's just use easier numbers. Let's say you have 4 players, and you have a thing that 25% of the time, let's say, estimate plus 10 bonus they all have to their whatever to hit it with. But that isn't going to equate to a 1 in 4 per turn that at least one person's going to hit it. Because, like, everybody can easily miss it for several turns in a row. Because 25%. I forget the term, but it's the fact that you're likely going to get the same results. Gosh, shoot, I forget the name of the term, but like, it's the thing if you flip a coin and you if you tell someone I'm gonna flip a coin, or shoot, how'd the thing go? You take a coin and you say to someone, all right, I'm gonna flip this coin. If I flip this coin 50 times, I want you to write down how many times you think it would land on heads and how many times you think it'd land on tails, and the order in which that would happen. And people often write like heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, heads, tails, tails, heads, tails, like that. But if you actually flip the coin 50 times, you'll see like a string of 6 tails in a row. And then like 2 heads, and then like 7 more tails. Like, what actually happens in a percentage chance can just like blow away expectations with like thinking about it in like 25% as in 1 in 4 is not the correct way to think about it, because it's not 1 in 4. This is a good chance it'll be a 1 in 10. There's a term for that, and I do not remember what that is. Also, that trick is a party trick. If you want to do a thing, I forget how it works, but it's basically like if you want to be like, I bet everybody can, there's, you know, everybody write what they think a coin would land on 20 times in a row, and then one piece of paper that's actually the 20 times in a row, and you put them in a hat and you draw them all, and then you have to choose which one was the actual one and which one was written. The trick is whichever one has generally the most of the same number or the same side in succession is the correct one, because that's how chance works versus that's how human brain would write something working. If that makes sense. I don't think I explained that very well, so I'm just gonna move on with my life. Always a dramatic setup into a big whiff. Yeah. Hey, Times Ryan. Good afternoon to you too. That does remind me, that's just how probability works. Yes, it is. But I feel like in gaming, a lot of times, and maybe it's just the circles I run, but that I see people misusing probability and percentages. So it's like, again, like, oh, if you have a 25% chance to hit, then you have a 1 in 4 chance, or like 1 out of 4 times you'll hit. But no, and not saying like that's what you do, but like that's the thing that I see a lot of people, the mentality that I see them get into, and then be like, well, why didn't this work? Or like, they should have downed it in 8 turns because it only had this much HP, so they only had to hit it twice and it didn't work. Or like, oh, it died too early, for the opposite reason, because sometimes you can roll high. And that's like, but that level of swinginess is sort of what I'm talking about, where it's like 1 in 4 or a 25% chance means this can go either way very easily, especially if it's like 25%. It's much easily go the one way. Where am I catching up here? Each flip is 50-50, but if you flip 4 times, it doesn't mean 2 heads, 2 tails, right? Which is the... I don't know. I think I'm just going to re-explain myself, so I'm not going to say anything. But, like, yeah. All right. Italian, but Deeps is up here. Let me see. That does remind me of the one thing that I've done to mitigate that swinginess is variable DCs. I don't have an exact formula of anything, but I've had that same check, easier DC for some characters, be a thing for others. That's, yeah. That's basically how I kind of built into Lexicon, whereas like if someone does something that counters a quality that's aiding someone in their ability to get missed, like someone's wearing armor, but then they're like, I'm gonna shoot lightning at him. It's like, all right, that metal armor is not gonna help. That'll be easier for you to hit versus the person with a sword. So yeah, I fully agree. Even if I'm not running Lexicon, I do the same thing where I'm like, oh, I like your strategy. That makes sense. It's not in the rules, but I will reward that with a easier time to hit. Or if someone does something that completely negates it, like, oh, I'm gonna shoot water at them. It's like, that's cool. They're a water elemental. It kind of goes through them, like something like that. I don't have an exact example. But how would you mitigate that? If there's any random element, it's going to be the same story. I disagree. It is not. Any random element won't mitigate that. It is, again, the swinginess. So if you have a d20, you have a 1 through 20 of where it can land. If you have a d12, 1 to 12 of where it could land. If you have a d6, 1 to 6. So by making it less swingy, make it so everything kind of comes, all your numbers are crunched closer together, that's how you can mitigate it. And then you can't just like do that. Like if you tried to do that with a Pathfinder 2, if you're like, I want things to hit easier, I'm just gonna use a D10 instead of a D20. The game is built around that swinginess, so you would have to, by breaking one part of it, you're going to break 1,000 things down the line, and you would have to figure out, okay, well, if I change this core mechanic, the whole thing is built around the idea of having a 1 through 20 be a possibility. If I have that, it's going to have huge implications. So how do I counter that? So you'd have to have, if you basically try to go with a system that has fewer numbers or deals with the numbers in a more condensed way, and then working around that. Another way to do that, so like I was mentioning with Savage Worlds, where you have exploding dice. So the maximum die you can have in Savage Worlds is a d12. Lowest die is d4, highest die is d12. But you have exploding die. So that means with a d4, it is possible to roll a 20. Because you could roll a 4 just an absurd amount of times in a row. Likewise, if you have a d12, you could roll 12 several times. The probability of rolling a 12 multiple times is drastically decreased than rolling a 4 a couple times. So you've got some of that under control. And then it also has other things to counter the fact that it has exploding dice. It also has another system called bennies, which is a currency you have in-game to spend to change the results of something. So you use them, the main thing is like to soak a wound. When you get damaged over a certain point, you take a wound. And when you get a certain amount of wounds, you die. When you get certain wounds, take penalties, blah, blah, blah. Damage. With those bennies, you can use those to soak wounds. So it is a way to help counter the possible swinginess of rolling 3 12s in a row on a d12. So it's built around having some things in check to try and help with if things go too far one way. It's random. You may also be out of bennies. Someone rolls 3 10s on a d10 and you're obliterated. That's also possible. But that is way less likely than Sigmar missing with his arrows every time he shoots. So while it has some swing, it is much more condensed versus, again, the Sigmar scenario, which is nothing but swing. I don't agree, because the natural conclusion of that is to reduce everything to a D2 to minimum swinginess. I disagree. It is not to reduce everything to a D2. It is to build a system that accounts for what you can possibly roll. So not mitigating it, but understanding it. And then having systems in place to help with whatever number it lands on. When exploding dice make it more swingy, red, less swingy. The probability of exploding dice going too high is not huge. Also, because you're dealing with a D4 to a D12, And that's a thing that a character can have. So a character has a d12 in fighting and they roll it. It can be 1 to 12. A character that has a d6 in it could also roll a 12. It's just not as likely. You're still dealing with the same bracket of numbers, though. Like, you're still dealing from 1 through 12 at that point. There's a possibility of going over that. But if someone rolls a d8, you're still within that bracket. So you have to really succeed to get outside of that bracket. So, yeah. More D20 is more swingy because it only takes one roll to hit a 20 versus the swinginess of getting 20 on really any of the die of a D12 and below. Because on all of them, you'd have to explode. And on several of them, you'd have to explode multiple times. I'll check up on this. I hope I'm making sense. Because, like, I like where... Like, these are all really good questions. And I hope that I'm making sense in why I'm adamant about it being like less swingy and that it does work in the way I'm trying to explain it, but I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly. I'm really hoping, because like these are all things that I've also asked and I've been like, why does it do this? And I've tried really hard to game design the answers to. If I rolled that many d4s, I would just assume my dice wasn't weighed right and buy new ones. Bad juju on those ones. Those are your lucky die. You whip those out when you're in a pinch. Have them in like a glass case. It's like break when open. I rolled 4 for almost every single initiative roll in one campaign. I just came to accept that the dice knew the Corvid was never ready for a fight. That's really funny. That has the same possibility for an archer to roll a 1, though, whether someone is less skilled using a d12 or a d4. But it doesn't have the same possibility. You have a 1 in 4 chance of rolling a 1 on a d4, and a 1 in 12 chance of rolling a 1 on a d12. So the person who is more skilled at the action, rolling the higher die, has a significantly decreased chance of rolling a 1. In D&D, the person at level 20 can roll between a 1 and a 20 in a 1 in 20 chance of getting a 1, and the person at level 1 has a 1 in 20 chance of getting a 1. So your skills as a character, where you put your points in to the character, do help mitigate that possibility. And that's what's helping counter the swing. Because you also have, in both games, you also have additional bonuses because you put points into this particular skill, and thus it helps you when you do this particular action. So you're not just rolling the die, you're also adding something in both of those. But your chance of rolling a 1 is greatly decreased in Savage Worlds when you put your points into leveling up that stat, so you're rolling a different die. Does that make sense? The 1 in 4 chance versus the 1 in 12 chance versus the always of 1 in 20 chance. I hope that makes sense. It's also weird when I'm asking questions, or I'm like trying to answer, and then like I have to read stuff, and then like, oh, I'm caught up, and then I have to like wait. I ask a question back, and I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to rush the other person. It's like, oh, I guess I'll just kind of sit here and wait, because I am curious about the answer, because this is really nice. I kind of get what you're saying, although I still don't get that it's a better system. And I have to go do work stuff, so I can't do. Totally fine. I would say, okay, my last thing. I would say it's not necessarily a better system. It is a less swingy system. It is a system that is more friendly and more thematically appropriate to rewarding the points a person puts into the character for the actions they'll do. Better chance for them to succeed based on their choices versus their chance to succeed based on luck. Neither system is bad. As much as I gripe about 5e, it is not a bad system. And as much as I dislike a lot of swing, there is a lot of fun to be had in swing. Are we talking about swing? We are talking about swing. So, yeah. I like it better, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's just better. And you can have a system that has a perfect balance of swing and yet is not fun for you for a multitude of reasons. Really. It's like you don't like it. That's okay too. I don't mean no thing if it ain't got that swing. Is that a lyric? I'm not sure what that means. It's a lyric. Okay. Is it from a swing dancing song? Also Italian. I hope you enjoy your work. Oh, it's 2:13. I gotta go. Ella Fitzgerald. Okay. Remember the swing revival in the late 90s? Squirrel Nut Zippers and whatnot? Brian Setzer? Yeah. Then Brian Setzer. The W's, because the Christian genre was also trying to get on that swing revival. But have you heard of electro swing metal? Because you should check out electro swing metal. Mainly hear that one because I think it's old. It's royalty free. That would make sense. Was that a bat glass? Yeah, hang on. I'll chug it and show you the bottom. The bottom has a bat on it. Here we go. We have the tall ones have a skull at the bottom. Yeah, electro swing metal. Hang on. All right. Is that, let me make sure that's the right genre name. There is, what's it? It's like Diablo. God, what was the name of that band? Was it Diablo? No. I gotta find it, and I'll at you. The band has Diablo in the name, but it's like metal, electro, Diablo Swing Orchestra. It might be Diablo Swing Orchestra. But yeah, it's like fun metal swing music. It's silly. I had a friend who really liked it and got me into some of it, and I was like, this is great. And then the next time I heard about it was just a bunch of people online dunking on it, being like, have you heard of this thing, this electro swing that people are into? It's trash. It's awful. was like, dang. I just learned about this and I really liked it. It is fun. I agree. It might be Diablo Swing Orchestra. I'll have to give them a listen and make sure it's it. All right. You've seen Squirrel Nut Zippers a few times? Nice. All right. I'm done. I'm out of here. Getting out of here. Italian. I really appreciate you really digging in to asking me these questions. I hope it came across in a good way and not like, let me tell you about my opinion and why it's right, because it's just my opinion. It's not necessarily right. Just trying to like explain like a game design technique. But like, I don't know how to express how much I enjoyed your line of questioning. Like, that's the kind of like, well, why is that? You know, like, it's not just like, yeah, okay, cool. Sure. Like, that there is a like a line of questioning and like examination and thing. Man, I am out of words today. Interrogation, like interrogation on the idea, and not in like a negative way, like a good way to like really understand something. So I'm really glad that you asked those questions, and if you ever want to talk about it more, let me know, because like that's I love digging into game design stuff. So thank you. Also, I hope you're having a good time at work. And thank you everybody else who came as well. And if you had questions, also good. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna raid your mate, because it's your mate. Hang on. I had to on chat. Bye, Penta. Thank you. Squirrel has been one of my favorite bands as a kid. Nice. Listening to Hell on repeat when I was 7 years old. Nice. But yay, we didn't do what we were going to do today, but you know what? I hope you had a good time, because I had a good time with you all. So, you know, I think that's mission accomplished. I'll do some more writing. And, you know, good things will happen, because writing is fun. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. It's just get Jesse's a Greek tonight, so that'll be fun. Looking forward to it. We're in Hades, not the game, the location in God of War. It should be fun. I don't think I have anything else to say. I'll say thanks again. I'll say hopefully I'll see you tonight. Blight and I will probably play something tomorrow. I guess the Game Awards are tomorrow, but whatever. This raid's about to happen. Thanks, everybody. I hope I see you around. If not, then I hope you enjoy whatever you're doing. Bye.